All right, it's your boy ConcertViz34. Hopefully, y'all can hear me okay. Doing a Saturday night stream. Sorry for the delay. What just happened is YouTube apparently in the last week changed their rules. You cannot stream on a mobile device unless you have 1,000 subscribers or more. So I had to go to my laptop. My laptop is an older Toshiba model, so haven't used this webcam in a while. Hopefully, y'all can see me. Hopefully, y'all can hear me well compared to the iPhone I had. But we're gonna try to do this. I'll listen back to it, and if need be, I'll try to figure out a way to get a new webcam if this webcam for my laptop is whack. But thank you guys for joining. We're going to talk about some things here today. Talk about the end of the European tour. We're going to talk about Buddy Strong, some comments he had about learning the DMB catalog. And then we're going to be talking about the Billboard nominating DMB for top rock album and how the nominees, I don't see any rock music. I see alternative and other types of spin-offs or iterations of rock. I don't see a true rock band on this list. And we'll talk about that here today as well. Ryan O'Connell, you watched the show today. I did not watch the show fully. I know Rab was streaming, but I was running around checking out my friend's new crib. They just moved and hanging out with their kids and had some other things. You know, I mentor the youth as well. So I didn't catch the stream of the show from Rab or from other people that have the full stream from the pit or from somewhere close. But we will talk about as well an amazing moment I saw today about this show, the final show, and how people, put the lighters up from here on out. But let's start with April 1st and that show on April 1st. Okay, thank you, Ryan. I'm glad you guys can hear me and the video is good. So we're going to talk about April 1st. That was Monday. This show in Italy, we have a Proudest Monkey tour debut. People feel certain ways about Proudest Monkey because it is something that is a little bit rarer for the craft side, not as rare as the Let You Downs, but it still is a rare song, especially nowadays. But it also is a song that can drag on. It's a beautiful studio recording. It's beautifully played live, but it does drag on. And, but still, it's cool to see it come out for a show there for April 1st, April Fool's Day. And then April 3rd, we get a Lie in Our Graves tour debut. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I did not realize that this was the tour debut for Lie in Our Graves. I maybe I just missed it. I just assumed it was on some of these sets in there with the 41s and the crushes and everything else, and it got in, but apparently they weren't playing it, and I didn't realize it until it said tour debut on the DMB Almanac. But that's a cool thing to have a Lie in Our Graves, and then they play some songs after Lie in Our Graves, no reprise during the song, and then encore spot one. They play Lie in Our Graves, the reprise portion of that. They're really cool to see that be done. And that's something they don't really do that often in general, but it's cool to see that they waited until later on in the show to finish up that song. And I think that is done by certain jam bands. You see that. Patrick Brewer says, not the same without Boyd's solo. Yes and no. The reason I say that is because Boyd he's been gone. He's been there. He was physically there in the last decade, but the Lie in Our Graves killer solos have been gone. And but I can understand. Yeah, it's not the same without Boyd. At the same time, some of my favorite Lie in Our Graves are Dave and Tim. That I've heard it twice with Dave and Tim live, and heard some of the other recordings. And I don't think it completely ruins the song. But yeah, I guess you could say it's not the same without. But I mean, Boyd hasn't been the same. Boyd even with the Lie in Our Graves solos, Boyd has some issues with the way he's, the squeaks and, just the off tempos. And Patrick, I don't think Boyd got lazy. I think the carpal tunnel the pain, the wear and tear of this band got to him. I'm gonna go over. I can't see your comments for a moment. I'm gonna go over to one of the comments that I had. See, on my page, and this was a dude who's a session musician. Ryan O'Connor says the best reprise was best in the encore. Yeah, yeah, I thought that was really cool that they did that. It's something different. The encore night one spot. I'm looking for something special and unique. It doesn't have to be a super rare song, but just not the same sister or other thing. And I'll take Some Devil as many times as they want to play it. Maybe not every night, but I mean, I think it's beautiful when Some Devil's there. Let's see. So we have. I'm just gonna scroll down. I'm looking at my comments for. Where is it? Okay, bear with me, guys. I should have pulled it up because I totally forgot about it. But someone who's a session guitar player, I mean, this is a professional. He was mentioning that Boyd, Boyd just like his rhythm. Yeah, Ryan, they played Some Devil today, which I thought was dope. But Boyd, rhythm wise, has always been slightly off, even in his prime. I can't find the comment, but I'll have to look it up later. But he articulated it well. This guy who I looked up his page or profile, may have been on Twitter. Maybe it was on Twitter. Oh yeah, it was on Twitter. Let me find it on my Twitter. Here, follow me on Twitter, Conserviz34. He articulated a lot better than I can paraphrase. Let me go here to because I posted if you follow me on Twitter, I posted the Seek Up from the Worcester, Massachusetts show Live Tracks 1. And I said this on Twitter. I said, listening to this makes me think, one, love the keys intro more than the current horn noise off intro there. And then two, when Boyd was good, he was good. Not so much in the last 10 years. And I said, three, so much more open space compared to the current band. Less is more. I've been listening to a lot, and I've been acquiring and purchasing some of the older live tracks. Patrick said, "Do you know Boyd had to redo his solo in the studio for Lion Art Graves for the Chicago show?" I think my friend Pete told me something about that, but that's crazy that he had to do it. I mean, again, these guys are better than Boyd is better musician than I'll ever be. Okay, so this is Alex Lee Drums on Twitter. Alex Lee Lee and drums Drums. He said Boyd's lack of rhythmic accuracy was always a point of contention to me when listening to DMB. I absolutely loved him, but I could not stand his playing, even back in the Under the Table and Dreaming and Crash days. That's what was rhythmic accuracy. And this is something, again, I play music every now and then, and sometimes I even have this issue with tempo and timing with guitar. I played clarinet from 4th grade to high school, and I was an honors clarinet player. Actually, 2000. It's been 11 years ago. I played West Side Stories in 89-degree weather in in Epcot. So I was a really good clarinet player. I was always on tempo with guitar. Sometimes I find issues with tempo. So I mean, I'm human. But Boyd is supposed to be in this band that is a bunch of professionals, and like I said, the rhythmic aspect of his playing. And Alex is a session and live drummer. There, he's from Twitter. That's what he says on his Twitter page. So, like, I respect his opinion just by that, and he can articulate it so much better. Yeah, the rhythmic accuracy is something that's off, and I think that's what I've always. That's what that makes sense. The way he articulates that is on point. He's not always the rhythm is not always there, and he doesn't stick to the tempos. And you have Stefan and Carter leading you, anchoring you with the rhythm, and he's always been a little off. And I can agree to that, even though I think some of his older solos just had more. They were just more thorough and fluid, and and less of the eeks and squeaks that you have. So, but I did mention that, and I'm trying to be more positive about the new band, and that's what I'm going to try to do today. We're going to talk about stuff I liked about Europe instead of the stuff that what should have been in Europe. But that was something that just I was talking about during the week. How the older Boyd, I've been really going back and like I said, acquired some new live tracks to actually purchase. I've heard some of these through streaming, but I actually now have these. I've been running to these, listening to these. That's going to be the live tracks 47, which I actually purchased. Just came out. Live tracks 1 I now own in digital format versus the streaming. And the reason I say that, sometimes I just stream stuff randomly when I have it physically in my ownership. I listen to it on my my iPod Shuffle, and I listen to it in other places that I wouldn't typically stream. So I've been listening through, and then the other one I have is live tracks. It's the 96 show from SPAC. That is live tracks 38. I've been listening to these older versions of songs from that 96, 97, 98 era, all in a row, those 3 live tracks, to just kind of really, really just take 3rd and 4th and 5th looks at this band in that era. I've heard a lot of stuff from there, but just listening to it again. So yeah, that's just an interesting thing there. But yeah, going back to that Some Devil E1 spot for 4-3, 19. Then we get to April 6th. And oh no. Yeah, we did April 3rd. So April 6th was today. Nancy in the Warehouse, really cool. To see that come up, no matter when it's played, no matter what era, just an awesome transition when you get both of those. And then the one thing I think was really dope is the Here On Out. It was recorded by Buddy Strong. A clip of that is on social media, Buddy Strong Band, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. He's everywhere. And I thought it was really cool to see that all the lighters and phones and everything come out. And the crowd being European. Some of these people may not know that song. They may have not picked up the new album. Some of these people have never even heard DMB. But the passion of the crowds, and the crowds in Portugal have always been something people talk about coming back from the States. The band has talked about going to Portugal, and they have that rowdy soccer feel, but respectful, lively, but respectful. Portugal's a big soccer powerhouse, and the fans are known to pack the stadiums and pack the bars for the different, international matchups. So it was just cool to see everyone actually still be quiet. Passionate fans had done the Olé chants, and you hear that in one of the live tracks from Portugal, but they were quiet when it was a quiet song. A very big theme of this European tour. In America, we got to get some guys and girls to shut up. But I think the thing is here, you have fans that are obsessive, and they go to Europe because they know it's a better chance to get the band. But the overall culture for these European shows is they're respectful, but when it needs to be lively, they're lively. And as Rhino kind of said, the crowd was insane today. And just looking at some photos, some videos, I need to look at more of it. Just that moment was really amazing. And Here On Out to me is just being positive about the new music. Here On Out is one of the best love songs, one of the best ballad, one of the best slow songs that the band has, period. And this is a song that we see that appears to be new. It's not in the Batson sessions. It's not in any other stuff. Maybe it's from older thoughts and ideas, but it appears to be new. And this is one of DMB, Dave Matthews' best written songs in this current era, as far as not demos and not stuff we've seen like Can't Stop and Idea of You that were from 06 and earlier than that. I'm talking something from this, from maybe it was started in 2010 to now. One of the best, best written songs, period. And I'm not a fan of You and Me. I don't think the writing is that good. Now, I understand the sentimental meaning of it when you're married, when you have kids, even though I'm not married. I understand how people could be tied to that. But Here On Out, I did my first wedding, as I've said in other videos, married my friend who got me in the DMB, and his now wife, who actually was one of my residents for a semester because I was an RA and she was there. Anyway, so I knew both of them, but Here On Out being played at that wedding gave me chills. And I've been to tons of not tons of weddings, but I've been to other weddings with other songs, and it's a special moment. But this, it was even more special. Coming right, this is right after it came out. Right here and out is straightforward. Yeah, Patrick, you got wifed up? You married, or you've had that feeling, or yeah, I'm still trying to get married. I mean, it's a whole other thing, but I'm definitely fatherly material, but dating in Connecticut is as a man with integrity is very hard. A lot of successful women have left the state, so it's hard to find people who aren't married already. Anyway, yeah, Ryan O'Connell, you and me, bathroom break. I literally Mohegan Sun. They played it. Sounded really good. It sounded much better than it typically sounds. I don't know what was going on. Great sound and mix, despite being an arena. Mohegan had a great mix, and I went to the bathroom. It sounded great, but it's you and me. It's bathroom based song. So that's today's, and then Carlos Malta, who plays the flute and saxophone, guested on Nancy's Warehouse and Jimmy. Oh, you're not married, but waiting for the right time. That's dope, man. That's dope, Patrick. I think it's dope, and like I said, I'm trying to get there. Like I said, I was with my friend's kids today. Not to get too much off topic, but I'm really great with kids. I actually volunteer in my church daycare once a month. I've been doing that since I was like 10 or 11, helping my mom out as a helper, and then a teenager volunteer. Now I'm an adult, and the kids that I was raising as a high schooler, as one of the junior volunteers. Now they're the junior volunteers, and I'm an adult, and it's crazy. I'm like, yo, I'm getting old. But anyway, I love kids, and I'm really that type of dude who's not trying to mac and get 5 or 6 women. I'm a one woman guy. I am a young Christian man who, I'm not perfect. I ain't gonna say I'm perfect, but like I said, ladies, hit me up. You're in Connecticut, and your late 20s, early 30s. Let me know, because I'm still looking. It's very hard to find, and I'm not giving up. And I know it's not easy. Nobody said it would be easy. It would be easy. So anyway, let's get back on topic. Next thing I want to talk about Buddy Strong. A fan asked him on Facebook. This is March 27th. A post from then. Shoot your shot, Kobe. Look, man. Hey, at the same time, look, I'm just waiting. I'm being patient. Yeah. Hey, but I'm saying, hey, if you out there, you going to the gorge and you live in the Northeast, let me know. Anyway, so the fan, yeah, Kobe. The fan asked kind of on Buddy Strong's post, hey, were you a fan of DMB before getting an opportunity to play with them, or was it a crash course? What Buddy said, I have the quote here. He says, quote, definitely a crash course. I'm reading charts every night because there are so many songs, but I love their music. And he spelled there THERE. But I am not the perfect spelling wizard myself. So, hey, is what it is. But Buddy's dope because he does interact with people. He has like replied to me, and I'm not like someone like, yo, I need this band to reply to me, but I've shouted him out and just given him some praise, and he's responded. I respect that about him. And he's so he says like, yeah, it's a crash course. I'm learning all this stuff, but my thing, and maybe this is where I'm gonna say I'm biased with this, but people are trying to make these excuses that, oh, the band isn't expanding their catalog because of Buddy Strong not learning the music. And my thing is this: they don't really need to expand the catalog. They just need to play certain songs more. And some of these songs, like The Stone, do not require much from Buddy himself. He can get on those synth violin vibes. I heard it in Mohegan. I'm sure I think there was a couple other playings. He just plays the synth violin, and that's just like any gospel. He comes from that church background that I grew up in. I played music at my church, and when you're at the black church, you have the keys players have to know how to play that synth violin, because there ain't many black violinists that are playing in the church. Now, there's a couple of these kids I've seen. Actually, 2 of them came to my church. There are black violinists. I'm not dumb, but there ain't many. There's not one at every Pentecostal or Baptist black church, So you have to learn how to play the violin keys. So Buddy can do that. It's very easy. The melody is very easy, but they don't play the stone. You know why? Because Dave doesn't want to play the stone. It's a hard song to play. I've played through it just without singing, and my hands get destroyed every time. It's a very hard song to play, but it's because of Dave. I don't think that's because of Buddy. Raven, same thing. Soulful, smooth. He can play that rhythm in his sleep. But they don't play Raven. They just don't play it that much. It got played a couple times. It wasn't featured on any of the live releases, which I was disappointed about. The jazzy smooth Raven. It was on the DMB radio kind of thing on Sirius XM, and I have a recording of that stream, but it's still not the same as getting the soundboard. And I really think that should be played more. The choices of why certain songs are played are more about Dave than they are about Buddy, because they played everything, but they only played certain stuff once or twice, and it's not about, oh, Buddy doesn't know it, because he played it and he can learn from it. He can look at the game tape or listen to the game audio and then say, all right, what do I do here? What do I do here? No, Dave is not playing the songs. And he says, yeah, Ryan says that makes sense. Buddy is growing every day, and he's a plus. Yeah, and I love Buddy. But in that Raven is just amazing, and that's what I like from this band. I'm a big believer in you cannot go back and be something you're not. I'm a big believer in that. I'm not expecting this band to be 1995 DMB, but Buddy Strong is a big asset. When the World Ends intro and Raven intro, and the Raven playing the bartender solos. These are things that Buddy enhances and makes into his own in the current iteration of his band. And even as I've talked about with other people on DMB Family and other stuff, this Butch would not fit into this band even if you turn Tim down. This band needs a Buddy Strong if they're going to have keys. It just needs that energy. It needs Buddy Strong having the backing vocals and on the stand-ups and the other stuff from that stand-up album that they play by you. They need Buddy more. They don't need Butch right now. They shouldn't have Butch, and Butch is happily with whatever he is doing. And he has said so. He's mentioned that. He left for his own reasons. So I think Buddy fits this band and what it is now. And then going back to my thing is listening to this older music, the 96, 97, 98 song, live tracks 37, that's 96, live tracks 36, I think it is. Let me go back to mine. Live tracks 38, 96. I've been listening to that a lot lately. Live tracks 47, that is 97, and then live tracks 1, which is 98. Those are going to work, walking into work, walking out of work, going on breaks to work. Been listening to a lot of that stuff, and what I've learned is less is more. And I know the band has the horns. I know Rashawn has created these different lines for the horns, but less is more. And this is something I struggle with as a musician. Less is more. I would love for there to be more space for Stefan's bass playing, more space for Dave's guitar playing. When Tim is playing live tracks 1 with the band, when he plays Live Rocks 95, he is softer. He is more subtle, but his subtleness on Seek Up is better than his noise on Seek Up is now. And I know now he's a full-time member. Back then he was just sitting in. But the sound guy or someone in the mix has to turn down Tim. And also there just needs to be more space. I know they're missing a violin player, but even without a violin player, just Dave and Stefan are 2 of the major parts. Carter, you're gonna hear, but Dave and Stefan having that space to hear the bass lines, to hear the acoustic guitar more, is what I would love from this band to be. You can still have the horn. You can still have them do certain stuff. They sound great on certain things. Even a JTR, the high energy JTR, I don't mind the horns in different parts, especially the breakdown. They're an attribute to that portion of it. But I just think that if there was more space in some of the choruses, some of the too much, Listening to the too muches from the late '90s, I'm not expecting Dave to have the voice that he had back then. I'm not expecting him to be as energetic as he was back then, but just to hear his guitar more on Too Much, hearing him on So Much to Say and Anyone See the Bridge more, and having the bass lines be more projected through that is what I would like from this band. All right, next topic: best three-song one run. This was from DMB Family. So someone on DMB Family said, "What do you think the best three song run is, and also the worst three-song run?" I won't get into the worst three-song run, but today, what they said is this commenter said the best three-song run is 41 Say Goodbye, Drive In, Drive Out, in which I said, really dope part of Crash, but no, that is not the best three-song run. And I really think there's a six-song run in Before These Crowded Streets where you could go a couple different ways. But I would say the best three-song run in the history of the band's studio albums is Halloween, The Stone, and Crush. Now, yes, there's no Dreaming Tree. No, there's no Spoon in that. And I think you could go with the next three as well, the Dreaming Tree and then Pig and Spoon. You could argue that too. But I think this three-song run gets into a part of the band that is introduced to us for the first time. Yes, we have The Last Stop and Don't Drink the Water in this album, but Halloween is the first time Dave is so raw. It's not about Native Americans and the white man. That's not Dave. It's not about the last stop. This is about Dave trying to wipe up a chick, and she like no, and the torment and frustration and anger that comes with this of just putting this time aside, really saying, "Yo, I'm freaking Dave Matthews, bro. You're not trying to wipe up me, and you're trying to get married to me." The energy of Halloween is so raw, so amazing, and we see this almost alter metal side of Dave Matthews himself that we see down the line in songs like What You Are. We see this with his Some Devil, the album. We see this later on with even the things in 2000, the Lily White sessions. You have this raw emotion. Halloween is that song where you're like, okay, this is not Crash Into Me. This is not Sally. This is not Proudest Monkey. Dude is keeping it 100 because there are two sides to Dave Matthews, and I need both of those sides despite as much as I love the dark stuff. There is the rainbows and butterfly and super positive DMB. There is things in the middle. Let's make some love. Let's say, hey, sexy lady, whatever. And then you have the dark, tormented, twisted side of Dave and being a human being who has been through things. Shotgun is another example of this. Bartender, and then What You Are, and then we have. But Halloween is the first thing that we see that we're like, wow, this is keeping it real. Halloween is what we've always wanted to say. The girl that right, and I can agree as someone who there's been some snakes that that I've dated, and most of the women that I've been with, if they're watching the stream, like most of them are good, but there's been some like quick, first, second date stuff that like, what? You did this? You lied about that? You got a boyfriend? What? That boyfriend? Like you got a man? Like it's crazy stuff like that. But Halloween, like being in my first long-term relationship and then that in her like, bro, this is horrible. Because she was a real one. Not that she wasn't just, it wasn't just, oh, she's cute and she didn't have a personality. No, she had a lot. But anyway, that's that torment, like you said, Patrick. It's just that first true heartbreak, not like, they looked bad, they was looking good, but they didn't really have much to offer. Like, no, it was just complete heartbreak. And then you have from that to the stone, which again, just regardless of what the theories are about what that's about, if it's about his sister or if it's not, or what, like that song is heavy. And just I remember the first time not the first time I heard the stone, but the first time I jogged to the stone at near sunset in the woods and how theatric it was to hear the studio version of the stone while jogging in the woods near sunset and no one was around. I'm glad I survived that. I'm glad I was not a statistic. I'm glad my body was not cut up in 15 pieces. But that was an experience for me with the band. My first show, May 25th, 2012, the Stone opener. But this is another great key song, studio or live, that's amazing. And then we end with Crush, The reason I say Crush is because while you could say, well, Dreaming Tree and Pig and Spoon, amazing songs, don't get me wrong. But if I had to pick three, when you Crush gives you that just jazzy movie theater, smoking cigarettes and black and white, you know, type movie jazz feel. It gives DMB that jazz that they really didn't in its mainstream and its underground, and none of DMB is fully mainstream, but it gives people of that like different areas of DMB and brings them together. Now, yes, when you hear it a bunch of times in a row, if you're a fan who's been to a bunch of shows, some people don't like Crush, and that's all right, okay. And I could see that because, if you keep hearing it over and over, if you've been to 30, 40, 50 shows, and you probably heard it a lot in the 90s, you heard it and you hear it now, you heard it in the middle, so you may be sick of it, but I still think it's an amazing studio track. That's my best three. And what I'll always overrule is, again, the raw emotion of Before These Crowded Streets compared to a lot of what came before it. You have your C-Cups, you have your Let You Downs, but these songs are passionate, energetic. The songwriting is brilliant, and but I would say if I could pick the continue the run for 6 songs, it would be Halloween, and then The Stone, Crush, Dreaming Tree, Pig and Spoon. It's just an amazing run on an album that just makes it superior. And I didn't always know. Again, I started listening to the band in the mid 2000s, but now at this point in my life of being experienced, more experienced, I still don't know everything. Still missed a large part of the beginnings of this band live, and that's something that I'll never be able to have. But just the more I get into this band, the more I'm like, okay, this album has this is the big turning point. You're 2 albums in, two real like mainstream albums, because remember, Two Things wasn't like, it was just kind of like almost like a halfway demo in many ways, live recordings and stuff. But that third album, we'll talk about Mumford and Sons in a little bit, but like Mumford and Sons, their first 2 albums to me are dope. The third album from there on here on out, I'm like, yeah, you're a poor man's Abbott Brothers. But I think that this was the thing that turned the tide of the legacy of this band, to have a Before These Crowded Streets after having so much success. That's really what turns people from long-term success to, you had a one hot album every 10-year average, Jay-Z takeover disc type thing. Because that album, Before These Crowded Streets, has the mainstream hit Stay was popping, Crush was popping. You have Rapunzel, which is ladies are gonna love that song. You're talking about climbing castle walls for a woman. Shoot. But that's I think Before These Crowded Streets, the more I think of it, it is the number one album there, as far as you compare everything else. Lily White Sessions, it's hard to judge it because it's incomplete, but I think Lily White Sessions is just, I put it up there next to just up there in the atmosphere next to Before These Crowded Streets and Crash. There, just because it's just, I mean, the recordings are amazing despite the difficulties with those recordings for Lily White Sessions and what the mindset of the band was. So that's the best 3-song run. All right, let's get to Billboard Awards for top rock album. That's how they're labeling it now. And this is where I was like, what, Friday? Huh? Like, where's the rock music? But I think it just goes to show you what's going on in this day and age with music, and it's changing. And what gets national and mainstream recognition, Billboard being a national brand for the United States of America, is a little different now. So Billboard Awards top rock album. First we have Dave Matthews Band, Come Tomorrow, Imagine Dragons, Origins, Mumford & Sons, Delta, Panic at the Disco, Pray for the Wicked, and then 21 Pilots, Trench. Now, none of these are true rock albums as far as what I think about of rock music. DMB is more of a adult alternative, in my opinion. It's hard to classify them because they're just so broad. And Imagine Dragons, I mean, yes, they are rock, but they're being spoon fed to us. And don't get me wrong, I listen to certain Imagine Dragons songs in my jogs, but as far as listening for like to actually listen to music and not be motivated, Tony Imagine Dragons, they're too and they're force fed to us. I feel like they're at the Super Bowl and the Final Four every year. Like maybe like they haven't performed at the halftime show for the Super Bowl, but I feel like on all the ESPN and all the Final Four, March Madness, CBS stuff, they've been feeding us it down our throats for years. And I think the lead singer has a great he has his own story, and he's came out, and that's a great thing for the youth to have as a role model. But at the same time, I just, God, yeah, I don't know. But that they don't feel right. Mumford and Sons, like I said, they have about six really, really good songs, but they keep rewriting those. No, no, six is too generous. They have four really great songs, but they keep rewriting those same four songs. Or they said, "Well, we're not going to be the same. We're going to be different." But that music is forgettable. After their first two albums, everything else is forgettable to me. I listened to like their third and fourth. Like I listened to the albums and I was like, "Okay, it's cool." And then like the next day, I'm like, "What? Did I listen to that?" Like it's not horrible music, but it's not music that just captivates you after the first two albums. To me, some people say they love Delta, and I haven't really given that a listen. Just to be honest, just keeping it 100. So maybe I should listen to that. But like I said, after the first two albums, everything else, you know, I listened once and threw it away. So digitally, because I was streaming, I didn't actually buy the albums after the first two. I just streamed it. But right, Braxton Bureau, yeah. And there's some if you look up Mumford and Son, there's some spoofs and parodies. There's two of them that are pretty funny. But and they're talented musicians. The shows I've heard great things about the shows. There, John, if you're still on, Danielle said she went to it and loved it. I just I don't know. And I know people don't like stuff I like. Everyone's different. Panic at the Disco. I mean, they're alternative rock, like almost punk rock. And I remember them when they first came out back in my high school days and all that. But and I heard actually that album. I remember I thought I had Sirius XM and I heard one of the songs like it's not bad, but it's not rock. It's not true rock and roll there. And then 21 Pilots Trench. Now, a lot of people don't like 21 Pilots. I I actually listen. I actually purchased this album. I had a review on it. It's not. They're not rock. They're alternative. Definitely alternative. They have the hip hop and sometimes a little reggae. Oh, Patrick, I have not checked out the Struts, but you told me to, and I didn't. And I need to put that down and listen to the Struts. Um, but 21 Pilots Trench, not as good as the last two albums, but it's not a rock album. But I think one thing you can say whatever you want about 21 Pilots. The one thing I respect about 21 Pilots is the impact they have on the youth. I mean, these kids, the biggest threat to this current generation, I'm sure John could, you have a son, and other people, if you guys have children, the biggest threat to this generation is not gun violence. It's not robbery. It's not theft. Crime is down. Chicago was worse. People are like, oh, Chicago was worse in 91 than it was in 2019. The biggest threat to these kids is mental health, suicide, depression. These are things that have affected people very close to me. To an emotional level of impacting me. And this is something that is plaguing these children is the mental health, suicide. This stuff is not a joke. In 21 Pilots, they talk about these issues the kids are facing and they put it in a cool way. It's a little bit cheesy at times, but they are really making a difference. If Blink 182 was really serious and had fun, but they had a serious message and they weren't just making jokes, even though I grew up on Blink 182, they would be 21 Pilots. I mean, they're just an amazing act that, as much as no matter what they come out with, I will always respect how they truly impact and have saved the lives of young people. And I went to a show, MSG, a couple years ago, and just, wow, all the kids that are going, people talk about kids are bad and this and that. And, you listen to Snoop Dogg and you listen to some of the stuff, some of the rock and roll music from the 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s, and then you listen to 21 Pilots, you can't tell me that kids don't have better examples. Even Taylor Swift, who, again, not my cup of tea. It's different than 21 Pilots. I like 21 Pilots. But Taylor Swift, not my cup of tea, and I think she can be fake. But the message, and Patrick Bruin, XXX Tentacion, he had a message, and he did. Yeah, Although, in RIP to XX Tentacion, uh, too many rappers getting killed in areas they grew up in. They let the guard down, whatever. X though was very scary because X and some of the other rappers, what I don't like about with the kids is they also are very, I don't want to say suicidal, but they almost encourage depression. But X had some stuff about being in dark days and trying to fight them. But some of the rappers, like even a Little Uzi Vert song, as much as I don't have kids, and, it's not the end of the world that he's saying all my friends are dead. But I mean, kids take this stuff seriously. They don't play like kids aren't playing with this stuff. So anyway, but I could talk about rap for a minute. And reason I don't talk about rap is there's so many platforms that do. There's no one talking about DMB like this consistently. There's definitely Ants Marshall, there's definitely other ways, but for DMB and even some of the other bands I listen to, you don't have the personalities like the hip hop personalities, even some of the rock and metal. There are certain personalities that talk that stuff, but nothing really rock that I see in this. But again, it's like every year there's not many releases. The record company is a band that I really have. I heard them open up for John Mayer. They are rock and roll. So I think there are bands around. Maybe they just haven't released albums. Um, but I just thought top rock album. But then DMB has been thrown into the rock categories for Grammys and all that stuff. But I just think I was like, where they should have one true rock band in this, but they didn't. And come tomorrow, do I think they're gonna win now? Um, Stuff to say. I mean, 21 Pilots, Trench did not. Maybe I'm just. It's hard for me to tell because I'm not. I'm out of the age range of what 21 Pilots is doing. Trench did not make the same impact as Blurry Face, so I don't know if they're gonna win. I don't think Panic at the Disco is winning. I could see Mumford, Imagine Dragons, or 21 Pilots winning. I wouldn't be surprised if Imagine Dragons won. I mean, they're being pushed. They are being pushed because they are TV friendly, they are sports friendly, they are just more mainstream friendly than everything else. And Mumford and Sons, while they're not as mainstream as Imagine Dragons, that's just what it is. It is what it is. So yeah, but all right. So Ryan says Dave always be in his own category. Lucas Nelson said it best. It's not to be the best at what you do, but it's more important to be the only one that can do it. Never be another Dave. Completely agree, Ryan. And I think that so many fans look for justification through Billboard, through the Grammys, through the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when it's all about being unique, and that's really what it's about. I agree. Are you replaceable? And we see this with hip hop. We see this with rock music. I mean, again, Mumford and Sons is replaceable. I mean, they're making now. You could say they came with a certain wave, but what they do, many other bands can do. The Avett Brothers can do a spin-off of what they do, and the Avett Brothers are better at it, in my opinion. They're not as mainstream, and the Avett Brothers have much better songwriting. Also, the Avett Brothers are just. I have their poster right over here. I need to frame it from the Connecticut show, Stories Connecticut. But you have to. It's in life. So I'm learning. Some of y'all may be older than me. I'm 28. You have to be irreplaceable, because if not, then what is my point? And that's why I'm part of the reason I'm single. All these chicks, and this and that, and you're replaceable. You're like no, you think you're not gonna always look like that, ma'am. You're not gonna always look like that. What do you bring outside of being on Instagram posing? And also, why don't be taking pictures of us on Instagram every day? Anyway, that's a whole different thing with dating. But you like that's the thing. DMB can't be like there's tribute bands, and you see people, and it's great that there are tribute bands, and we'll need those because once the band is done, someone needs to carry on the legacy. I would love to go back and reminisce. It won't be the same, but people try to imitate Dave's voice, his guitar playing, all that stuff. It's irreplaceable, and that's really what's hard about it. And the Billboard tries to make these genres, and it's even that's what I'm thinking back. I'm like, that's what's probably hard about it. Is like, is there the alternative or the alternate rock? What do you put them in jam band? They're not a jam band. And Billboard doesn't care about that type of music anyway. It's about the hits. It's about the more mainstream stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't care, but they make it or not, or win or not. I mean, come tomorrow, again, it is what it is. There's some great moments in it, and I love the studio version of it. Live, it's better than Away from the World live in some aspects, but in other aspects, Away from the World is a little better. Um, so it's kind of a toss up, and I keep going back and forth. The more I hear "Come Tomorrow," the more I think, "Hey, Away from the World was kind of better." Gaucho, as much as I said I didn't want to hear it, I'd rather hear it than "Do You Remember." I'd rather hear it than "She." I just don't want to hear "Mercy" and "If Only." Please, just no, throw them away. Throw them away. Love the message of "Mercy." I just don't think it's well written. Well written. I don't think "Mercy" it's too bullet point, and that's not the Dave Matthews that I like. I like, you know, even though Pig is cliche and all that stuff, it's just I don't know, it's different to me than Mercy. Just yeah, and then you have the piano, dun 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 dun, and you're waiting like, all right, come on, Dick, come on. You can play. We know you can play piano, but I don't know. I think looking at the European tour, this was about playing in front of crowds that are different, that are going to be quiet, that are going to respect it, that just want to have a good time. So the sets were different. I hope that there's a little more variety, and I hope that certain songs are rotated in. I would like to think that this was more of, hey, Europe didn't get summer tour last year. We're going to give them a taste of that in a more mainstream way. And then after this, they're going to create, they're going to go to the drawing board for later this month in Pensacola and say, what are three songs we really want to bring back in rotation? What are three songs we want to remove? And then we have this kind of skeleton of what we're going to play more consistently because we're not Fish. That's what I would hope that they go back to the drawing board and do. We get two or three new songs that they get 10 to 15, if not 20 plays. Just like we got "Lying in the Hands of God" back. I thought that was beautiful to get that back in 2018. I hope that we get something back like that, um, just to be rotated back into the mix. That's what I look for. I know that the majority of the shows, they're going to have a certain formula. They're not going to go out of their catalog and rhythm. You're going to have certain shows, the SPACs, the Camdens, the Alpines, the Deer Creeks, where they're going to do some special stuff because the fan base is a little more unique. The fan base goes to two nights. People travel their destination shows. You may have stuff in Hartford or Mansfield, one or two of those special moments that we get here in the Northeast, but that's it. That's just how the band's going to play. Now, I was talking with John about this earlier. Shout out John Dix. But we were talking about this the other night. He's hoping for something. Maybe there'll be something that's brought in, like again, that's a liberation, or that's going to be brought in, like how Lion Hands of God came back. Maybe something will come back that first show. But it's going to have a certain formula. It's going to be a lot of shows. You go to a midweek show. You go to the Something in the Water Festival. I don't expect something crazy. But then you go to the destination shows, the Gorge, the SPACs, the Deer Creeks, and so on. That's when you're gonna get the crazy stuff. Okay, so Ryan is saying definitely not a jam. Yeah, I agree. And they just don't win awards. They should win a Grammy. Big Whiskey. What were the? Who was with? I don't know who was with the nominations for Big Whiskey. I mean, that's because I'm mixed with Big Whiskey. I love certain stuff about it, but I think some of the stuff just yeah. I mean, it is a good I mean, it is a good front to back album. I'll have to see what other bands were up against them for Big Whiskey that year, because I think like the Sevens and the YIMs, as much as they had a tribute. Oh, Taylor Swift won. Oh yeah, Taylor Swift. She got the bag. She just wins everything. Although now she's having attendance issues, but um with their show. She can't sell out stadiums. Now, that's a good problem to have. Hey, I can't sell out a 65,000 person, 65,000 crowd in Gillette Stadium here in Dundee. She's had to lower some prices and do some things to make sure uh, that she could kind of fill it up last minute. But yeah, and the thing is, the awards are going to always be political in many ways. Sometimes they feel bad. You've seen like with the Oscars so white. Then they start giving stuff away to the Regina King gets a Grammy, and but that's a little different than what DMB. DMB is not going to get that backlash because that's clearly like, hey, there are African minorities that are making great movies and they are great actors, but you're snubbing them because you have an elitist, biased view of a theater has to be all professional and bland and boring, and anyway, that's different than DMB. DMB doesn't have a case, so they lose an award, they don't win a Grammy. Um, you know, she covered "You and Me," Taylor Swift. I didn't even realize. I don't know. Well, I don't listen to the song when the band covers it. Oh, that's not true. I listen to it. I listen to it. I don't revolt and turn my head away from the stage and put earplugs in, but it's already from the fall. And she had the worst cover of September ever, ever, ever. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like I got these from my dad. My daddy he didn't raise me because this Stevie Wonder. That's wrong. But I got the Earth, Wind, and Fire vinyl. This is not September's not on this one, but this is all in all. I think this is all in all. I mean, she screwed up September. It was bad. It was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah, like Earth, Wind, and Fire, man. Those boys. Whew. And like I just was like, what? Don't do that. Like someone in her camp should have been like, no. Like you can do other stuff. You can cover Dave Matthews band, You and Me. That's in your real house. Do not butcher Earth, Wind, and Fire. You will get smacked out. Like there are country fans who don't even like black people, and that's a bad stereotype, I guess. But there's people that don't even listen to R&B, and they but Earth, Wind, and Fire, that's their like they love them. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those bands that just transcends their genre. I didn't say that. Country fans don't discriminate. But I just it was bad. So any other thoughts? Because we're hitting 52 minutes, so people are gonna look at this video like, "Yo, 52 minutes? Why did you stream this long?" Parliament Funkadelic, yeah. I got some of that. I got some of their stuff here. Um, some of the George Clinton and P Funk vinyls over here too. I just like. Um, I've been exposed to more Earth, Wind, and Fire than the P Funk, but I've heard like I actually have one of his live albums on vinyl, George Clinton and P Funk, and I mean they can jam too. Like that live, I can't remember which live one it is, but I have one of them on vinyl from my dad. There, all sorts of stuff from my dad, and he just doesn't listen to it anymore. So I got a record played and gave it to me. But yeah, man, but anything DMB, any thoughts or questions or whatever, like any topic ideas, here's your time, guys. All four of you. Thank you guys for coming on and being patient. Like I said, man, YouTube switched it up. Help me get to 1,000. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm at like just over 200, and I looked at the thing today and they're like, nope, you gotta have. I'm like, what? You have to have 1,000 subscribers to go on your phone? Like what? But a webcam is okay. Like what? A laptop webcam? I don't know. Maybe have to do something with ease of access. Everyone has phones, and if there's like someone who has 2 followers, they may stream from their phone some crazy thing in public. I think that's my only guess. Is like if you don't have 1,000, most people don't have 1,000 followers on YouTube. So if there's something like, because all this stuff's being streamed on Facebook and YouTube, so they try to prevent it. Right. The Stones won 2 Grammys. Yeah. There's all sorts of stats on that. Like, and that's why I never, I'm a fan of J. Cole with hip hop, and he hasn't won a Grammy. And that I can't respect the Academy when Cardi B has a Grammy, but the Stones only have two, so she has half as many Grammys as the Stones. Stevie Wonder, has Grammys, but even some of the other people in his era got robbed. So especially with the album of the year. Art, yeah, like what cover art I think it is, and different stuff. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just the thing is, it's hard to have if they really want to have a balanced view of music, they would have a different clientele that would be voting. They would pull people from underground, pull people from this and that. But it's a lot. It's Hollywood elitists. It's Hollywood elitists, and the second game, yeah, Michigan State, Texas Tech is on now. I know Patrick. I know you're rooting for Texas Tech. They're up 3 right now. The end of the Virginia game, Virginia in the rain. I mean, I to be honest, I don't, I watched the last. I took a shower during the end of the Virginia game. I was out running, doing other stuff earlier today, and then I was like, oh well, Virginia's up 10 or something. And I come back, and then Auburn's up, and it was a travel that should have been called. I didn't even know that was a travel. Um, so many rules in basketball but yeah, Auburn should have really gotten that break, but at the same time, close out the game, have a little more of a lead, and you don't have to worry about that. But I thought Virginia stole that play. There was a foul at the end. That was a foul, in my opinion. The corner three, the guy who had a wedding registry issue allegedly, and then the NCAA said no, we didn't ban it. But now we got MSU. Oh, yeah, it's a second half. Yeah. See, the thing with college basketball is it's a second half sport. NBA is too, but the NBA, like, if you're just watching a game, especially a playoff game, there's just so much more talent in it. Like talent, not energy and excitement. NCAA has more excitement. The fact that all these players don't stay for 4 years anymore, or 3 years anymore, or 2 years anymore, and they stay for 1 year, or some that should stay for 3 stay for 2. It's made it a lot more unpredictable. You got Texas Tech in their first Final Four. Auburn is pulled up, and now they're in the fight. Like Bruce Pearl, you would have thought back when he was in Tennessee, if someone said, "Well, no, he's not going to get Tennessee to the Final Four. He's going to get Auburn." I'd be like, "What?" SEC is really killing it with the way things are changing. The SEC, a lot of basketball players from the South are really good. There's something in the water, just like with football. But they're saying, "Hey, I don't want a concussion. Hey, I'm thin, and instead of being a receiver, I'm gonna be a ball player. I have the skills. I play AAU." It's interesting to see the trend of changes. I'm a UConn fan. Actually, 20 years ago, we won our first title we're at the Tropicana at St. Pete's Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. But there used to be the Northeast used to have hard-nosed basketball players, and that like you had to play on playgrounds, and that's when the Northeast had the best stuff. The Big East was what it is. Now it's all about AAU. It's all about living outside of Atlanta, living outside of Houston, living outside of Dallas. It's not about living in New York City. You can't be a good basketball player. You can be good. You'll get city recognition, but you've got to be on an AAU team. And these southern cities, Atlanta and DC, and like the Kevin Durant from DC, and even LeBron was from Ohio, but even out west in LA, some of these LA teams, Russell Westbrook was on AAU teams there. Like that's really what's running the league now, and that's why. Oh, so you wrestle with the AAU. Yeah, it's a totally different ball game where it used to be if you got mental toughness from the playground, like Kemba Walker, like Shabazz Napier did for us. Shabazz Napier was 75% of what Kemba would be. And Shabazz Napier destroyed teams with all these 5-star recruits because mentally he was bigger than his height. And that's what you don't see anymore. Now you see Villanova. What Villanova is able to do is Villanova has these guys stay for 2 or 3 years. They're less talented, but they stay and they get smarter. And they're hardworking Northeast guys. So anyway, let me get off here because I think I know what I'm talking about with sports. I don't always know. So we're hitting the hour mark. But it's your boy ConcertVids34, Instagram, ConcertVids34, Twitter, ConcertVids30 at ConcertVids34, and on YouTube, ConcertVids34. Thank you guys for the support. Peace.